We can't tell you how excited we are to be invited to Ireland to talk about our school. It's our passion. We've been working on Murray High School since 1988. I was one of the founding members, and we based it on, at that time, quality schools had not been written by Dr. Glasser, and so we were looking for anything to create what our superintendent said: we want the best school on the planet. No excuses, we want the best school on the planet. And so as one of the faculty members, it was very exciting to sit there and look through everything that was out there, trying to figure out what would be the best thing for students and for teachers in a school. And we zeroed in on Dr. Glasser's two books, Schools Without Failure and Control Theory in the Classroom. So we really dug through those books and we tried to think, how do we implement this? And we were going to do it in a small alternative school. So our school only has 120 students, still does. Although there's clamoring to have more all the time. We're just limited by our space in our building. But what we intended to achieve, I think you'll hear from these kids whether we did or not. And what we're going to do right now is set up a kind of a panel discussion. And I've asked each of them to think through what life was like for them in a regular school. And in America, we'd call that a big comprehensive high school. A lot of the schools in America have like 2,000 or 3,000 kids, and probably you have some like that here in Ireland too. And they're operated on a pretty traditional, what Glasser would call external control model. And so these kids have all come from schools like that. And they're going to talk about what it was like for them and what the difference is being in a quality school. We declared ourselves a quality school in 2001 after a lot of discussion amongst the parents, faculty, and students. And we finally became a quality school after a consensus. We reached a consensus, which for us means 100% of our community, all the students, all the teachers, and all the families. And that makes us really strong. Because we did that from a base of no minority that's miserable, we did it we waited. It took us 4 or 5 years of trying really hard to communicate why we wanted to be a quality school until everyone finally had their needs met and agreed to it. We even had to, the students chose to write to Dr. Glasser because they were afraid to give up a C, because we had always had nothing below a C at Murray. So you couldn't get a D or an F, but you could get a C. And so the kids were like, well, I don't think I would have ever, I wouldn't graduate if I couldn't at least skate by on that C once in a while. So they were afraid to give that up. And they wrote to Dr. Glasser and said, you've now raised the bar to a B at quality school, you have to have a B or better. Some of us are afraid we won't get to graduate. Would you be willing to let us cut 1 point off that C every year until there's no C left? And then there'll be a B. And the benefit for that was those kids that were worried would be graduated, and everyone else then would be dealing with the B. And he wrote back and said, what a great plan. Yes, of course, try that. And so it was going to take us about 5 years to cut off all the points of a C, and we ended up after 2 years, the students came to us at the beginning of the year and said, this is stupid. Well, I have a C with 3 points. It doesn't make any sense. Can we just shift to a B now? We said, sure. So we've been a B ever since then, a B or above. So I'll shut up now and let these guys talk. And as you think of questions, just raise a hand and they will stop and ask what you'd like and then answer as best they can. It should look more like a discussion, and they can start arguing among themselves too if they'd like. We're discussing. Okay, so are we starting at that end and working this way, or? All right, Andrew, do you mind starting? Would it be all right? Okay, so just say your names also as you start speaking, and then just pass it that way. And you don't have to stand. I guess you can stay right there. Can everybody see if you sit in there? No? Okay, then maybe you do need to.
Okay,
all right.
So we're just sharing stories, right?
Yeah, just tell your stories.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Kevin Andrew. Before I came to Murray, I went to a school in my little, I don't think you could even call it a town. We don't have like a mayor or anything. It's just a little kind of village, if you will, I guess, modernized. But I went to a high school, and it didn't really go for me. It's a new thing going into a high school. There's more students. All of them are pretty much older than you, more mature. People are driving. People have girlfriends and all that. And coming from a middle school where I still was like walking around the hall where kids were like about like yay tall. It was a really big difference. And when I first went there, the work was, the quantity increased, the difficulty increased, and it wasn't too bad to the point where I started getting less and less support from the teachers. And I'm not just talking about educationally, I'm talking about just mentally, because it's really stressing going through high school. Like many students every day, they just will look at their work and just kind of freak out, and they need that kind of support. It's a very fragile time in their lifetime. And when I first went into ninth grade, math was a big doozy for me. And the only time I could get help was coming in during lunch or something like that, and I couldn't really get time outside of school. And she would give us what I like to call busy work, which would be like 40 questions a night, and like she wouldn't give us work unless it like snowed, and she kept up to that work like very well. And so I just halfway through the year I'd start breaking down. I couldn't keep this up. It was just shutting my head down every time I just put it on my table every night and look at it. And we tried all kinds of things. My mom was really worried about me, and we tried talking it out with the guidance counselor and trying to get extra classes where I could have like a study hall to have more time to work on the work, because there's just some things I can get done, but I was just a slower student compared to everybody else. I couldn't think that straight just on a dime like that. But everything we tried never really worked. And so one day she came to me and she was saying, well, why don't you think about Murray? And I never really heard much about it, but what I did hear was that that's where all the troubled kids went to. And I wasn't really down with that. I didn't want to think I was troubled. I was going through enough crap right now. I didn't need that on my mind. And even if I did really consider it, I'd be leaving all my friends I knew since elementary school, since I was like 6. And I'd be going to a school, like, I don't know how many people were there, but I mean, if they're all strangers, it doesn't really matter. You just, it wouldn't really work for me. I don't know if that would help my problem anymore, but she kept wanting me to consider it, so I decided to go visit it for a day. And I'll never really forget the day because it introduced me to a whole way of different thinking for education. When I went there, I did what we like to call shadowing. You follow a student around for his or her classes all day long, and you see how you think of it. You get a perspective of the student itself, and it's a really good way to get a feel for the school and to see how the teachers teach and how your work styles or learning needs are being met. And when I went there, I noticed how calm and relaxed everybody was. And it wasn't just chill, like have a party every day at school, you know, but it was weird because everybody was kind of having fun with it. And school was never like that to me. I would go to school, I only went to school because I had to, and I had to do it to get a job so I could get to college and make a living in life and not work at McDonald's for the rest of my life. But when I went there, it just blew my mind. And so when I got back, I had to make a decision. Do I go there or do I stay here with my friends and just deal with it? And overall, my decision came to be to go to Murray. And I haven't really regretted it since. So I went there and was working with the teachers. They just gave me so much support. It wasn't just with education. It was like, you know, how's your day going? You know, are you okay? You look like you're feeling sick or something troubling you. They cared about you. They didn't just say, oh, that's nice, you know, go back to work. It was more of a family. And it wasn't separated more by grade. You went to every class with, you could be like a senior with 9th graders, and nothing was separated. Everyone was together, the teachers, the students. It was really like a big family. But the teachers really valued my education as much as I valued it the longer I went there. And Murray helped me to want to learn, because the teachers would make time out of their schedule. I could stay after, I could come to school early, and I could work with it for anything I was confused about. even in other classes, if I was like ahead, they could say, it's like, well, if that's becoming a problem with you, why don't you just go work on it now if the teacher wasn't doing anything? So there's just so much support there, and they really care about you. They're not just going to let you down. And it's not so much the other teachers let me down. It's just that there were so many kids, and there wasn't enough attention to go around. And there's, like, it's not that we don't have a lot of people